Put the bunny back in the box.
I knew you was a punk, and I was right. You been playing us all along. You a free man.
I said, put the bunny back in the box.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes, and every once in a while, one of my regular contributors to the channel will do something like maybe create a crowdfunding campaign, have a comic book that they're promoting. I like to bring them on the channel, kind of talk about it. And we got a big one. We got a double campaign going on right now from Tim Lim and Mark Pellegrini. Unfortunately, Mark can't join us today, but I do have POTUS Thump himself. Tim Lim, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. It's great to be back here on Thinking Critical.
Well, I'm glad that you could make it. We kind of talk about this big campaign you got coming on. Now, if you're new to Thinking Critical and maybe POTUS Thump, Tim Lim brought you over to the channel, you should definitely subscribe to the channel right now. And if you're a fan of Thinking Critical, but you haven't subscribed to Tim and Mark's channel, the Bunder Dome, there's going to be a link in the video description. And in the last 30 seconds, there's going to be an icon that you can select. Go and subscribe to their channel as well. They have a lot of fun live streams every week, like 3 or 4 times a week, right?
On average, we haven't been doing it that much because I've been busy trying to wrap up basically 2 books. But Mark tries to get on at least once or twice a week.
Absolutely. So you're going to want to subscribe there. Go and join their live streams. There's a lot of fun, a lot of good conversation going on there. They have a lot of interesting guests. So I definitely highly recommend you go and subscribe to the Bunder Dome as well. But, we got something bigger to talk about here, Tim. So you've been building this Black Hops kind of property for a few years now. I remember you did the first book. It was through Antarctic Press. I believe it was a two-part origin story for Black Hops G.I., the hero of the story. You crowdfunded the second book, and now you're crowdfunding the 3rd volume. That wasn't enough for you and Mark. You're actually crowdfunding an omnibus that includes that and the first 2 stories?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So the first 2 books, the first 2 issues that make up volume 1 were through Antarctic Press, and then the sequel we crowdfunded. And we don't even call it crowdfunding anymore. We basically call it a pre-order because our business model is that we finish the book before we launch any type of campaign. So basically, we're just taking in pre-orders for it. And as soon as it's shut down, we're able to ship them out, typically within 2 to 4 weeks, depending on our printer getting our books to us. So right now, we have Black Hops 3, and we have the Omnibus, which collects Black Hops 1, 2, and 3 together. So the Omnibus is more than 210 pages altogether, and then volume 3 is 72 pages. And I think the thing that's shocked me the most is we assumed that they would be pretty even keeled, or that volume 3 would be the one that people were after because they've already had the first 2. But and this just goes to show something I've been telling some fellow creators within the last year. It just goes to show how big the Kickstarter marketplace is, because within the first 72 hours, we sold out of all of our high-level omnibus perks, which tells us that, it tells us that the marketplace of Kickstarter is so big and that people are they're using it as an online shopping mall to look for new content, and they have not heard of or discovered our previous properties. So they're like, oh my gosh, it's this Black Hops book. There's an omnibus that collects all 3, so I don't have to bother about getting caught up. I can just do it in one fell swoop. So that's what they're going for. And that's the advice that I give to a lot of people. Now, I know that there's some ideological differences that people might have with regards to Kickstarter and Indiegogo. That's a topic for another day. But the argument that there's 2 distinct separate marketplaces where people peruse is absolutely true. And we've demonstrated on 2 occasions with Kamen America in the spring, and now with Black Hops and the Omnibus here in summer.
A huge success so far. You're well over $23,000. Like you said, you sold out of all the higher tier omnibus packages with the standees. I think there was a plush in there, maybe a body pillow, something like that, with some characters on them. And it's gone very well. And I gotta ask you this, Tim. You could have been very greedy about this. You could have released volume 3 today as its own separate property. You could have already ordered all the omnibuses, sat on them for about 6 months, done another campaign, and then redid this one and taken 3 months off of your life and not really had a new project due afterwards. Why did you decide to do 2 for 1, man? That's very nice of you to offer this omnibus at the same time so people they don't have to go and get the first 3 if they missed out on the first 2 projects?
2 reasons. One of them is that our fulfillment service that we use, which is Iconic Comics, it's fulfillment and an imprint that we go under. I don't want them sitting on excess stock. We like to go through things very, very quickly. And so I just thought that it would be better for the reader and for them to just get the product out as quick as possible so that we can go through it and move on. My big thing is that I'm fiscally very conservative. I don't like being in the red for anything. I don't like being in debt. And that includes the holding on to things that I don't necessarily need. And because Mark and I are working at kind of a breakneck pace, I mean, it's hard to believe, but within this year alone, we've already produced more than 140 pages of content between 4 books. We are constantly working. And the only time I take a break is I take about a week off between books that I'm working on just to recuperate, give my arm a rest, give my wrist a rest. And right now I'm working on Kamen America 2 so that we can have that ready to launch by September. So I'm already, as of today, I'm halfway done with the book. So a lot of it is just based on our productivity and the fact that if I can hit 2 birds with 1 stone, I will. So if I can offer an omnibus and volume 3 at the same time concurrently, I'll do it, because it is stressful to run campaigns and pre-orders, because you're having to deal with the direct messages, you're having to deal with the logistics of the fulfillment and the numbers coming in and what all of this means, focusing on marketing, focusing on social media. So it is very, very stressful. So the more I can clamp down on that, and by next year only do 3 pre-order campaigns, the better that's going to be for the reader, and the better it's going to be for me and my mental and physical state.
The campaign has been very successful. You and Mark have to be very proud of yourselves and what you've done. But there is a segment of the market that are dedicated to Indiegogo campaigns. Have you kept, maybe some stock of books, omnibuses? Have you kept some in holding so that you can go and offer them to that crowd as well after the Kickstarter's over?
Yes, absolutely. So what we're going to do is there's no difference in the Kickstarter and Indiegogo campaigns. Now, the only difference...
The cover's the same. The book it's the exact same product. You're just offering it on 2 platforms.
Correct. The only key difference is that we will be ordering the stock for Indiegogo when we order the stock for Kickstarter. So let's say that we need 1,000 books for Kickstarter. I will order X number of books that we're going to have on Indiegogo, which means that the Indiegogo version will be limited. Every tier will be limited. The print version and the physical rewards. The only thing that's not going to be limited is digital. Correct.
Like we said, you did sell out on the standees, the plush, and the body pillow. Kind of your big perks that you're offering. I'm surprised you're offering 3 different perks on this one. They did sell out on the omnibuses, and I'm not surprised that happened. But they are still available if people want to get the trade for Black Hops Volume 3. Now, I'm going to be honest, people really enjoyed the standees. I'll be surprised if those last another week or 2.
Yeah, what people are doing now is that if they missed out on the perk that is for the standee and the omnibus, what they're doing is they're buying volume 3 and then adding to their pledge to get the omnibus with it. So it's slightly more expensive, but people seem to really like those things. They have them in the public right now. I think if you go to GameStop and Target and Walmart, I think they're called fig pins. So it's kind of a new thing. Mark and I have been doing standees for about 3 or 4 years now. They do really well at conventions. They're expensive to make though. But I think what people like them is that they save on space, because essentially it's just standing art and they're collapsible. So when you travel, you don't have to worry about breaking them. You just have to remove the base from the standee, package them up, and then go. It lays flat. So people seem to really like those. And as long as people keep buying them, we'll offer them for pretty much every pre-order campaign that we do.
That one's been very successful. There's also a plush. If people want a Black Hops GI bunny doll with a tactical vest, that is obviously available. Is this the first time you've done the body pillow? I don't remember seeing this one before.
It's the second time. We did it for Kamen America and it sold very well. And so we just repeated it again. Now, the funny thing is that looking at our markets for Indiegogo and Kickstarter, those things sell out really quickly. Indiegogo, not so much. So I think people on Indiegogo might be a little bit more, how should I say, not necessarily prudish, but a little bit more reserved in the market.
They might just be interested in the comic,
Right, exactly.
Let's talk about Black Hops 3. Obviously, the first one was the origin story, and I thought it was amazing. I remember reading that. I was like, who was I messaging? I was messaging this YouTubers before I'd started my channel. I was like, it's crazy. I was like, Tim Lim, like in Mark in a few pages here actually have like a more emotional origin story than I'm getting out of like entire trades that are available at the big two right now. I was like, I'm shocked that they were able to accomplish that. I'm not shocked anymore after reading the rest of your work and everything. But Volume 2 was essentially kind of a soft reboot of the franchise to bring in some more characters and change it up a little bit. Is this another reboot, or is this a continuation of that?
It's a continuation of that, but it's also the culmination of something that we laid out 2 years ago, which is the idea of a shared universe. So the big reveal in Kamen America Volume 1 in their epilogue is that it turns out that it takes place in the same universe or same world as Black Ops, and so there's kind of a crossover. So we actually expand on that. So Black Ops 3 does something that to us is kind of risky, but we hope it pays off. And what it is, it's actually a direct sequel to Kamen America. It's actually an interquel. It'll actually connect the first and second volumes while still serving as a direct sequel to Volume 3 or Volume 2 of Black Ops. And I can't go into too much detail about how that takes place, but I think you'll figure out within like the first 12 pages how the two are connected. But it's something that we had laid out the groundwork for before. And so we're happy to see it come to fruition. But this one, as opposed to like the first two volumes, they had to prevent something from happening. In the first one, they had to prevent a nuclear launch by North Korea. In the second one, they had to prevent an attack on New York City. In this one, it's a rescue mission. So they actually have to go to Europe and they have to rescue a target from a castle and be sure to evade the enemy while they can. But that's a general plot. It's hard to write a lot of military stuff because there's a lot of tropes that take place when you have like a special forces unit. So we're actually combing through a bunch of like Tom Clancy type stuff to see what are some of the other storylines that we can do for future volumes. But we found a way to naturally integrate the two properties together in just one.
Man, you should be combing through the A-Team, man.
Yeah, no kidding. That one's a little bit different though, because the A-Team, they were like on the run, so you had that extra element. So they could actually go to like
they're always there for a price. Well, I guess U.S.A.G.I. He's not for hire.
Yeah, he's not for hire except for Uncle Sam, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. This is a culmination of a lot of years of work. I'm surprised. Like I said, you combine the two campaigns. It would have been easy to take a little bit of a break, but just going right back into Kamen America 2, is that going to be like a direct sequel to Black Ops 3?
Yes. So Kamen America 2 is going to be a direct sequel to itself, and it's going to take place almost immediately after the events of Black Ops 3. Now, here's the cool thing. We write our books so that you can read Kamen America in isolation and not be lost. You can actually read Volume 1 and Volume 2, and you're going to have a coherent story. The only thing is that if you get Black Ops 3, you're going to fill in a gap that takes place between 1 and 2. Same thing with the Black Ops universe. You can read it on its own and not read Kamen America, and you won't be lost. And the reason why is it deals with a plot element, which is how people in this world are able to do kind of fantastical things. Our team is made of modern day cryptids. In this case, you have U.S.A.G.I, who's a rabbit, and then you have Patriot Otter, who's an otter. And we have explanations of how they became the way they are, why they're hyper intelligent, why they can be trained, and things like that. And it deals with a particle called chimeratons that are present during radioactive instances or occurrences. And that's going to be a key thing in both settings, Kamen America and Black Ops. It's kind of like the glue that holds them together as far as a plot device is concerned. It's kind of like in Ninja Turtles, you have Retro Mutagen Ooze, which is kind of their MacGuffin, the thing that is kind of the culprit behind all the weird shenanigans that take place in their universe. We kind of have the same model going with ours too, which means that the fantastical elements that take place in both can be explained independently without having to read the other property to know what's going on.
All right, so there's a big question that's kind of hanging out there. Obviously, this is the third volume of Black Ops. You're doing an omnibus. Does that mean this is the conclusion to the Black Ops story, or is this the conclusion of the first chapter?
It is the conclusion of the first chapter. and then we're gonna move on with basically phase 2 next year. And we have very interesting things planned with that one that I'll have to tell you, I guess, off the air.
Very cool stuff. I like how you're kind of tying things together. I remember that you somewhat were trying to do a shared universe in Black Ops 1. That didn't work out, but it's probably best that you and Mark just manage it by yourselves, because the output that you guys have going on, I can't really see a lot of people that are doing like Indiegogo crowdfunding, Kickstarter campaigns keeping up with you.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, in our books, we have cameos and stuff. We have a lot of friends who are creators, and they want our characters to appear in our works, and I've been more than happy to oblige that. But it's really difficult to try and have a shared universe with people who have a different level of output. Some people work a lot faster than us, and then some people work slower than us. And so being able to have to juggle 2 properties by 2 creative teams and have them coalesce is difficult. But if you're in control of both properties, then it's a lot easier, because you're able, from an editorial standpoint, to make all the pieces fit together.
All right, Tim. So I'm going to let something out of the bag here. I've heard that there's a very handsome YouTuber that resides in the Philippines that does make a cameo appearance, maybe in this comic book.
There is. I've actually not shared it on Twitter. I might, if I get your permission, but Wes from Thinking Critical actually has a cameo appearance. Actually, there's a lot of people who we're friends with who have a cameo appearance book, but I will warn you that they always say in writing that you have to kill something you love. So just because you have a cameo appearance in the book doesn't mean it ends well for you.
Hey, as long as I go out guns blazing, I want to go out on my shield. You know what I'm saying?
I hear what you're saying.
This is as long as I'm not waving the white flag when it happens, I'll be more than happy. So there, the very first appearance of Wes from Thinking Critical in a comic book appears to be happening in Black Ops 3. I don't know if someone else, decided to put me in a comic. I didn't know about it. I imagine they would have told me.
Yeah, exciting stuff. And you're just gonna have to wait and see how you turn out in this particular volume.
I'm on pins and needles over here. The Kickstarter campaign is going on for another 23 days, 21 days, something like that.
Correct.
And then once that wraps up, are you going to go right into fulfillment, or are you going to go over and do the Indiegogo?
We have to wait 14 days for the funding to clear in Kickstarter. Now, they say up to 14 days. Last time, it was exactly 14 days. This time, I think it's because of the whole economic situation. They're saying 21 days. So we're going to wait it out as long as we can. We will start fulfillment the day that the check clears, and then we'll open it on Indiegogo. Now, the only thing that might be risky is that almost concurrently when we're running on Indiegogo, we might be running Common America 2 on Kickstarter, but we will not run that book until Black Ops is fulfilled. Like I said, I'm halfway done with it, so give me another 26 days and I should be done with the book entirely, knock on wood, barring any unforeseen circumstances, which means that by September, we should be ready to go for our last book of the year.
Well, all very exciting news. Is there anything else that you need to let the viewers here at Thinking Critical know about the campaign? Where they can go? What do they need to know before we wrap this up?
No, not particularly. They just need to know that whenever Mark and I have a pre-order campaign, the book is 100% completed. All the artwork is done. All the materials are here. So all of the extra items like the patches, the standees, things of that nature, we have them in stock. We always place our order. We normally get our orders in for books ahead of time, but this time, just to let more people in, we're basically doing a predictive order. So we'll look at how we are at the halfway point and use that as an estimator to buy in excess to predict how much we're going to need and for the future campaigns. So you are guaranteed to have a book delivered to you in a very, very good time frame. So there is no risk involved when you're having to purchase books from us. We have a very good track record of delivering on time and as promised.
You're the gold standard of Indiegogo and Kickstarter comics as far as I'm concerned. Others might say Brian Polito, but that's good company to be keeping.
Absolutely. And if I'm lumped in with Brian Polito, I will take that as a badge of honor.
Well, Tim, thank you so much for coming on, talking about the Kickstarter pre-order campaign that you have going on right now, letting people know that when the Indiegogo will be happening, and get on it. The standees, the plushes, and the body pills are going to sell out eventually, probably sooner than later.
Absolutely.